Welcome. Welcome to TEDx Auburn University, sponsored by the College of Human Sciences and the Division of Student Affairs. My name is Ainsley Carry, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Vice President for Student Affairs, and I want to thank you for joining us today. Auburn University is hosting its first ever TEDx. This is a big deal for us, so thank you for joining us here today. May I ask, if you have your cell phones with you today, that you would please put them on silent or vibrate. This event is being recorded, and the presenters have worked really hard to this point. Also, if you would like to follow us on Twitter, please follow us at hashtag TEDxAU. That's hashtag TEDxAU. And if you have to ask what is Twitter, then I'd like to encourage you to meet with one of our students during the break, and maybe they can download it onto your phone. Again, I would like to say welcome. We are here today because the world is filled with a number of seemingly unsolvable challenges. Right now, there are 1 billion children around the world, most of them girls and children with disabilities, that do not have access to a basic elementary education. That means they will not learn the ABCs in their foreign tongue. It's unfortunate that right now in the United States, we can accurately predict the number of children who will have access to a better quality of life and better quality education based on their zip codes. We know right now there are approximately 2.2 billion children around the world. 1 billion of those children live in poverty, almost half. 400 million children do not have access to safe water, not just clean water, but safe water. And every year, 1.4 million of those children will die as a lack of access to drinking water. 1.4 million children will die every year as a lack of access to clean drinking water, something we all take for granted. Right here in the United States, 17.2 million people live in food insecurity. They don't know where their next meal is coming from. In the state of Alabama alone, 17% of our state lives in food insecurity. That's 130,000 households, and the majority of those households are occupied by children. The world is faced with a number of seemingly unsolvable challenges. We are led to believe these problems are unsolvable because they are completely ingrained into our society. Every day we walk by and never mention the injustice of the fact that some students get to go to college preparatory schools while some children go to schools that should be condemned. We were led to believe that these problems are seemingly unsolvable because our leaders tell us that they are complicated and these problems are complex. They explain to us, well, if we invest in education, then we have to spend less money on roads and prisons and hospitals. So we don't invest in education. We were led to believe that these problems are complicated and complex, so they seem unsolvable. These problems seem unsolvable because they're epic. They are large. They involve millions and billions of people and millions of billions of dollars in resources. So they seem unsolvable. But we are here today because we believe, as you believe, that these problems are solvable. We believe these problems are solvable when we attack them from a multidisciplinary front. We cannot afford to attempt to solve any of these problems acting in academic silos. We know that solutions in education exist in education, but they exist in science and technology, business, and engineering. We know problems related to water distribution exist in agriculture, exist in education, science, technology. We know that we can solve these problems if we are willing to commit to a multidisciplinary approach to solving them, where every student and every academic discipline has a chance to say, here's how we would solve that problem in business. Here's how we would solve that problem in agriculture. Here's how we would solve that problem in engineering. We know these problems are solvable because they are interrelated. We know that if we fix one thing, it makes it easier for us to attack something else. Let me give you an example. We know that when we educate girls, we give them access to economic opportunities. When we do that, they become of value to their family. And their family is more willing to invest in their survival and their success. When we educate girls, they get married later in life. They have fewer children and more resources to invest in healthcare. When we educate girls, they educate their children, and their children have expanded horizons, and their children eventually break the cycle of poverty because we did one thing. We educated girls. We know these problems are interrelated. We know these problems are solvable because this is the generation that we have been waiting for. This is the generation that was the first to leverage technology and your social network to overthrow a government. This was the generation that leveraged technology and your social network to raise millions of dollars for things that you care about in this world. We know these problems are solvable because they require multidisciplinary thinking. We know they are solvable because they are interrelated. When we educate girls, we change the world. We know these problems are solvable because the generation that we have been waiting for is here. And that's why you are here today. TEDx Auburn University is one component of the Auburn University Leadership Challenge. It is a campus-wide effort to educate students so that they may know, be, and do something about the challenges that you see in this world. I invite you as students to apply to the Auburn University Leadership Challenge.